everybody, and welcome to the Stumptcast.
Hello.
Stumpt's new podcast. Newish. I'm here, as always, with Jasmine, Ash, and Price.
Hello.
How you guys doing?
Good.
All right, We're here to talk video games and a bunch of other nerd stuff.
Nerdy things. That's what we do.
But since this is our first podcast... Ish.
Besides the pilot.
We better start out with some introduction. So let's just talk about who we are, what Stumpt is, what our biz is all about.
Dude, yeah. We are a YouTube channel that's going to take over the world is who we are.
That's our goal. We have some ambitious goals of taking over the world, but we will be benevolent.
Before that, though, I think we're just a whole bunch of nerds from Portland who really like playing games with each other, and we always have. And then one day we were just kind of like, maybe we should just record this and throw it on the internet.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
And some of you guys seem to really like it.
Yeah.
And we like you.
Yes. It's
Thanks
awesome.
for joining us.
It's super awesome.
And as far as what Stumptcast is, so we're going to be bi-weekly in the sense that every 2 weeks you'll be getting a brand new podcast. So something to look forward to there.
Yep.
But let's get this thing started with, how's your week, you guys? How's everybody's week?
Dude,
Who wants to get started?
My week's been all right. I mean, I worked all week. I came back from Austin before, where I had like the best barbecue of my life.
This guy won't shut up about the barbecue.
The food there was amazing. I also had a breakfast taco for the first time, which is like a whole revolution to my my breakfast delivery system.
I saw you on Facebook. You were like, I found a place in Portland to get breakfast tacos. Like that's a thing.
It was the first thing I did when I got back. Yeah, look up where to get my fix.
You know, it's funny that you mentioned that because 2 weeks before that I was in Houston, and the thing about that was I also had breakfast tacos, and I realized I'm not like really an egg person. I don't love having like eggs in the morning, stuff like that. Every now and then I'll have a scramble maybe, but like when I'm in Texas and I'm around breakfast tacos, it's like it's no question. I will down hundreds of those things.
They're so good.
They're so good.
Just the chili and the salsa that you put all over it.
Oh man, I had no idea. You guys sold me already.
Yep.
Yeah.
Chili
Rick,
in the morning.
Rick, we're doing it.
Yeah.
It's time.
I'm all about it.
I mean, that's a perfect market for Portland.
Yeah,
seriously.
let's make it
Where
happen.
is it? Let's do it.
This is the culinary part of the podcast. We're going to
Yeah.
talk about the food.
Yep. Breakfast taco carts are going to start popping up everywhere.
Everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man.
So that's how my week's been.
It's been all barbecue and breakfast tacos.
It's all been craving those things. Yeah.
And I was with his week because we went together.
Yeah,
so there we go.
Yeah, that's included in your week. And anything unique to Jasmine this week?
She drew a whole bunch of this
I did a lot of art. I did a lot of artwork for the channel.
The new banner.
There's a new banner. Hammerwatch style.
Hammerwatch.
If you guys haven't seen it, go check out our new Hammerwatch banner. Jasmine is an incredible artist, and she really knocked it out of the park.
Seriously.
Yeah, I mean, it's perfect because now we're doing Gauntlet. We're doing more Hammerwatch.
Yeah, that's almost like
time.
That's almost like dual usage.
Yeah.
That's a Gauntlet / Hammerwatch banner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Switch it out, put a shield on my warlock, and then we're good to go.
Yeah.
Well, I need to get rid of my Pope hat.
Yeah, get rid of Pope hat.
The Pope hat. Who made you the Pope of Chili Town?
Oh, man. I love your Pope hat. That's great. Oh, man.
That's about it, though, I think.
Yeah.
That's it?
Yeah. Cool.
Not too much else, though.
My week, pretty straightforward week. Been doing lots of recording and putting stuff on the channel in between, other work and whatnot. And I think the big stuff for me was I finally, in Necrodancer, cleared Zone 3. So I finally beat, like, the last boss character, which was just, oh, man.
It's been a milestone for a while.
It's been a rough going for the past couple months, but I did it finally.
You had a lot of self-doubt.
Yeah, that was an accomplishment.
Didn't know if you were a good enough person.
Yeah, I got really excited, and I was like sitting in my chair alone in my apartment, just like shaking my fists at the sky, just
high five in a million angels.
Yeah, it was so good. It was so good. So yeah, that was pretty much the big thing for me this week. And other than that, just more of the same.
Yeah,
which is always good. I like it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, as for me, last night I was going out of my mind. I stayed up till probably too late.
This kid plays Civ all the time.
Rick is crazy about Civ. I went to sleep at like 1:30, and I think you were still playing Civ.
I've been trying to get this I've got close to 1,000 hours into Civ, and I've been trying to get this deity victory for some time, but I don't want to do it the chump way. A lot of people will do it on a dual map, and they'll play Venice, and they're like, oh, I totally won. You didn't win. You cheated. Right? I'm doing it in standard map, 8 civs, just rolling the dice, taking the chances. And I had a pretty good game going as Korea until Poland came in and just ruined my shit.
Poland
5 hours
is
into
where
the
it's
game.
at.
This guy knows Poland.
Poland is where it's at.
Yeah,
Yes.
so that destroyed me and destroyed my confidence. I don't know if I'll be able to play Civ for a couple days now. Other than that, Ash and I have been plugging away this week at some Starbound. We had some pretty revolutionary go at Starbound the other night.
For sure.
You guys got some stuff in store.
Yep.
Make sure to go to our Stumpt YouTube channel. Check it out. It's going to be pretty awesome.
Yeah, and in that same vein, Jazz and I have been doing a lot of really cool stuff.
There's a lot of building going on.
Your guys' was it upcoming butterfly area looks
The butterfly dome.
We just need to figure out how to get the butterflies to actually start flying again.
They're pretty lethargic. They just kind of sit there. I don't know.
Well, I've released butterflies in the past, and they just fly away. These ones were just kind of contemplating life.
Yeah.
And
they're not happy with their dome.
So I was like, maybe if he had like a pretzel. So I put him at a table, and I gave him a pretzel, and he didn't do anything. He just sat there, and I was like,
He did not like pretzels.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Right on, man. Pretty good week. We've got barbecue. We've got video games. What more can you ask for?
solid week.
Solid barbecue
That's it,
week.
man. That's life right there.
barbecue with video game week.
All right, so let's jump into our next regular reoccurring segment that we're going to do every single week.
Woo.
Well, every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks.
Bye
Yep.
week. Yep.
What do you got, Price? What's this?
Oh, the Marvel Minute.
The Marvel Minute!
Yay!
Woo!
All right, so this is where I try my best to, within a very short period of time, tell you guys everything that's going on in the world of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's been a while since our last one, and there's not a whole ton of stuff that I don't want to like catch up on everything that's transpired because
Wait. Since our last one.
Oh, since our pilot. Excuse me. So starting off, instead of me telling you literally everything that's coming down the pipe for Marvel, I'm just going to kind of like jump in with like kind of like the most recent stuff that's been kind of exciting that's popped up. That's really cool things. And so one of the big ones is Age of Ultron comes out next summer. So this is the second Avengers movie. And Comic-Con happened over the summer, so we got a lot of cool details about what's going to go on in that film. One of the biggest things that's popped up recently is not only did we know that Vision was going to be in this movie, which is amazing, but actually some of the design work has leaked. And so we actually have some really good images. Go look those up. That show what Vision's going to look like. And I mean, he looks like he's pulled straight out of the comics. Like,
wow.
It is so
Was Vision the thing
looking.
in that glass box?
No, so that's... You're talking about in Captain America?
No, Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah. Oh, no.
There was
something
something
else.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know
you can
my
ask me about that
character
later.
very well.
No, so Vision is an android who has the power to kind of like change his density. So he can like phase into like essentially like transparency and things can go through him. Or he can like become like super dense and, punch someone like, like a Mack truck. And so he's a really awesome hero, and he's one of those ones, he's one of those characters that if you had picked up a comic a couple years ago and said, like, who's never going to be in a movie, right? It's like Vision's one of those ones where you kind of go, like, he'd be tough, it'd be weird, it's so much has to go right in order to do it, and yet we're getting Vision next year. So that's going to be super exciting. The other stuff that's really cool has to do with, so they released a synopsis for the film as well. And one of the big concerns, because it has to do with Ultron and Vision and all this stuff, was that it sounded like what they were going to do was fully make it that it's Tony Stark who creates Ultron, which is a big difference from the comic books where it's actually Hank Pym or Ant-Man, which is the other movie we're getting next year, who invents Ultron. And so it sounds like, they were doing a big retcon kind of change to that story. A lot of people weren't really happy with that because they're like, that's what that guy does. That's his thing. But the synopsis actually has like a little thing in it that makes people think, maybe there's a little bit of Ant-Man in it. Because what it says is Tony Stark revives a long-dead defense program. And so it sounds like maybe Hank Pym made the Ultron program a while ago and then left it on the shelves, and then Tony Stark revises it.
Okay.
And so if that's the case, I think it's a really good marriage of the two kind of concepts of saying, like, yeah, we know Tony Stark is kind of this cool new tinkery kind of guy, but then bringing in Ant-Man in that way is also pretty awesome.
It's fun to watch the way that they're tying together all these different franchises.
Yeah, it's really awesome. And then, so then the last thing that I wanted to bring up was right now we're in the phase for Doctor Strange, which is going to be coming out the next year in 2016, and where they're casting and there's no real like solid casting yet, but rumors right now are going around that Joaquin Phoenix is in talks for a major role in the film. A lot of people think that he's going to be Doctor Strange. I personally think that because he's like an Oscar caliber actor and all that kind of stuff, he's the kind of person they go after for villains. I could see him being the main villain of Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
Because it's like if you think of, like Jeff Bridges, if you think of, all of the really like great actors that they've had throughout the series, Hugo Weaving, all these other people, those are like the most talented actors that usually go for like those villain roles or like those supporting character roles, like Anthony Hopkins in Thor, Tommy Lee Jones in Captain America.
Roles where they only need to be tied down for like one movie just for a little bit or something.
Yeah, because when you're that caliber of actor, to sign a contract for like 9 films over the next 20 years, big deal.
You think pay plays into that too?
Sure, probably. Yeah.
I mean, that's got to be pretty expensive if you're casting all these big name people for roles.
For sure.
They're going to be tied on for like 2, 3, 4 movies.
I think other than Robert Downey Jr., I think those roles get the most money, even over the other lead actors.
And they pretty much revived Robert Downey Jr.'s career. Sure. So they couldn't have known at the time when they signed him that he'd be as big a name as he is.
Yeah, totally. And so like that's one of those things where I imagine like for most of them, it's one of those things where they kind of bring them in. And for those kinds of actors, it's good because it kind of ups their profile because here's this like big budget movie that'll be seen by a whole ton of people. But, it's not a huge commitment for them if they just do like the 1 or 2 movies. So I'm guessing Joaquin Phoenix won't be Doctor Strange. I'm guessing he will be one of the bad guys or some other supporting character.
Cast your vote, guys.
But we'll see.
Joaquin Phoenix for the villain.
Yeah. Either way, though. Doctor Strange. Yeah. It's gonna be cool. Yeah,
that sounds cool.
It's gonna be Doctor Strange.
And then I want to ask you a question.
Go ahead.
Actually,
sure.
I'm not into Marvel nearly as much as you, and even I've heard the drama that Robert Downey, friggin' Chris
Evans,
Hemsworth, and the Thor,
Chris Hemsworth,
all leaving.
There's certainly their contracts are nearing the ends of where they were signed on when they first came. Chris Evans has made it sound like he might be on the fence about leaving. Chris Hemsworth sounds like he's in it for the long haul. He'll do as many as they want him to, but it sounds more like Marvel. The Thor movies aren't as successful as far as the character Thor.
Right.
Loki is kind of the more popular breakout character of those films. And so it looks like Thor is probably going to get sort of phased out just so that they can bring in other new characters to try and start other properties.
So the guy who's like, I'll do as many as you want to. They're like, no, thank you.
Chris Evans is, I think, kind of on the fence because he said a couple of things where he's like, oh, I want to go into directing and all this kind of stuff. And then he'll say something else where he's like, oh, no, I mean, like, I want to do Captain America and directing and nothing else. And so it's like, it's confusing, his wording. But they all signed 6-picture contracts. And so where they're at now is 2 Captain Americas have come out. And the second Avengers movie comes out next summer. And we already have Captain America 3 on the docket. Thor 3 is coming around the corner from there. So then they're all signed up for only 1 more movie. Right. And Robert Downey Jr. has already had his 3 Iron Man movies. He's had 2 Avengers movies coming around the corner. So then he'll also only have 1 more movie on his contract. And I think that they're aware that they need to kind of move in and get other people coming in because they probably can't afford Robert Downey Jr. Much longer.
True.
And also it really kind of holds the rest of the franchises back if you always have to anchor it with Iron Man.
That's true,
they kind of need to step outside of their comfort zone there.
I say, my money, Marvel babies. Just take it back.
Take them back.
They're all babies now.
All the way back. Yeah,
that's how they do it. It'll be like Baby Geniuses meets Marvel. It's gonna be fantastic.
I think that sounds like a good thing. Yeah.
All right. So
that's Marvel.
That's Marvel Minute.
That's Marvel Minute.
And it took exactly a minute. Go back and check. It was 1 minute on the dot.
Yeah.
All right. So now let's plow forward into our main topic today.
The meat of the podcast.
Main topic. Everybody talks about it. Everybody who plays video games, at least. Why do they keep making such shitty video game movies?
Seriously.
Okay.
Seriously.
Before we started, we pulled up the wiki page, list of video game movies. At the top was Super Mario Brothers back in 1993. Since then, no movie has broken the highest rated Rotten Tomatoes, the highest rated movie, Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within, with 44%. The next highest rated, it's a tie between Mortal Kombat and Resident Evil with 33%, okay? These movies do terrible. Oh, I'm sorry, Dead or Alive, so Resident got 34.
Yeah, and Prince of Persia has a 36%. Either way,
these are bad stats, okay? These are bad stats. Why do they keep making such bad movies? So let's talk about some of our worst, best, bad video game movies, and let's see if we can't try to crack the code.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, not to go super deep into it, but my main theory, anyway, is that I really believe that practically every single one of these movies has tried to do it live action.
Yeah, one.
Yeah. Final Fantasy obviously tried to do it 3D, but they still used live action whatever. They filmed the actual actors doing it, and they just mocapped them over it.
That CGI though was revolutionary for its time.
Yeah, oh yeah,
it was.
true.
No, if they made that movie now, it would probably be amazing. It would be Andy Serkis playing all the roles. The CG would be indistinguishable from humanity.
Wasn't it Steve Buscemi in that? I remember watching it.
Steve Buscemi was in it.
Steve Buscemi.
Freaking what's his name?
Alec Baldwin.
Alec Baldwin was in it. And yeah, at the time, I believe it was also the most expensive CG movie ever made.
Yes.
But in my opinion, anyway, they should make a video game movie like they did the Lego movie or something, where they just put it in the world. Like they're making Minecraft. The people that made the Lego movie are making the Minecraft movie, and I believe
didn't know that.
they're going to be able to pull off something that really captures what the fans want to see.
Well, I think save those talks for when we talk about the future of this, because there are a lot of cool things that might be in the future that we see from the ones that are coming up. But let's talk about the shitty ones that we see.
Let's start at the top. Let's start with the first shitty video game movie. Okay, the one that got the ball rolling. Super Mario Brothers from May 28th. 1993, okay?
Yep.
This movie is just like critically lauded. Everybody hates this movie, okay?
Except for me, I loved it.
Except for Jasmine, but I think that she's wearing rose-colored glasses.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I watched it when I was little. I loved it. You know, I was really into John Leguizamo at the time.
Who wasn't?
I mean, he was.
I was really into Bob Hoskins at the time.
Me and Ash were talking about this. John Leguizamo was huge in the 90s.
Sure.
He was just like Pauly Shore.
He was like Pauly Shore, except he still has a career.
Yes.
He was the Puerto Rican Pauly Shore. No doubt about it.
He was like the person to cast in the 90s. He
Okay,
was like in a lot of stuff.
But
my
that's
first
not
question.
Enough.
My first question for you guys. Going off of what Ash was saying, would this movie have benefited if it were animated, keeping in mind that the animation would probably be similar to the Mario Brothers cartoon of the time?
Yeah,
would you guys have thought that a 2-hour-long Mario Brothers cartoon would trump what we got?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it would.
Absolutely. But here's the other thing is I think that the failure of this film is nowhere in like what the production was of it. Like they had a lot of money they put into it.
Great money,
the production value was there.
How much money did they put into it? Do we have
look for a number,
Do we have a number?
No, here's the thing. Oh yeah, it's set up there. 48 million isn't what it says. Yeah.
Okay, budget was 48 million. It made 20.9 million.
So it was an absolute failure. But here's the thing though, is the story was so bizarre.
Yeah, it really
Here are
was.
these plumbers from like Brooklyn who then get transported to this weird like post-apocalyptic
through a sewer line.
It's so ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's like, what does this have to do with Mario?
I think the thing was it had a really bad lack of attention to the actual story. I mean, you could have gone anywhere with it, but they chose like this really weird bizarro thing where like we're gonna go through time
alternate
and space.
universes that are competing for and okay, you said 2 plumbers.
Yeah.
2 brothers? Are they the Mario brothers?
Mario, and Luigi Mario. Who knows?
But were they brothers?
Yeah,
I didn't get the sense that they were brothers.
I think it was like an adopted sort of. It was like a mentorship kind of thing because like Bob Hoskins was like out aging, Leguizamo by like 20 years.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And they definitely had more of like a father-son relationship, but like kind of like a mentor kind of relationship. So I think that they were going for like.
You think it's one of those things where like
he like adopted him, but like not as his son.
Yeah.
As his companion.
Like he was his uncle, but he raised him like they grew up like brothers.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Because Bob Hoskins was a little bit mentally a little slower than the other kids. So
Sure.
It is Mario. That is
Mario and Luigi Mario.
Yeah.
The brothers Mario.
Yeah.
But so the thing is like you have this story that's so bizarre, and it to me, and this is something that I think we're going to notice throughout all of these films that we talk about today, is what it sounds like happens is like you take the director or the producer or whoever, you say, look, we want to make this video game movie because, it's big with the kids, all right? So here's what it is. It's this game, you play as this plumber, you jump on these things, they're called Goombas, it takes place in this place, and you eat a mushroom and you get big, and you do this. It's like someone gave him a really shitty synopsis of what it was, and that was it. That was the only time they ever said, and
then the director's like, okay, Price, that sounds interesting, I'll make that movie, but I'm making this live action, so how the hell do I get from point B, which you just gave me, where's point A? Obviously, I need to have some sort of backstory that makes no sense, and put it in between there.
Exactly. But
they just bought the property, though, I can just imagine the studio exec, like Price is saying, they're like, well, it's a really simple game. If you've got 5 minutes, no, I don't got time for that. Just give me what's that? Plumbers? There's mushrooms? Okay, what's that? Lizards? Okay.
Got it. Boom. Done. Alternate universe trying to connect with Brooklyn, New York. We got the plumbers, they go over there. We got the toad tool monster lady. Turns out to be the king or whatever. And then we got some big crazy lady who gives them boots that make them jump high.
Yeah.
Boom, I just made you $1 million.
And somebody's like, no, this isn't what it is at all. What are you talking about? There's plumbers, there's mushrooms, there's lizards. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Look, I booted up that game.
It's all here.
I booted up that game in that machine that you gave me. You said it was the video game machine. I pressed the start button, and that's what I saw. I saw a plumber. I saw a tube. I saw a little thing. It bit my balls, and that was it. All right? That's the end. That was the movie.
Okay, so we figured out, I think, some reasons why it's terrible. Okay, we think it could have been better with if it were animated. I think we all agree on that, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
okay,
and
casting was casting. Okay, Dennis Hopper as
King
as
Koopa.
Koopa.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure, I
I
mean-
forget who played Peach. I think I had a pretty big crush on her as a kid. I don't think she was noteworthy. We've
But
got
Dennis
John
Hopper was great. in that
Samantha
movie.
Mathis.
I mean,
Samantha
I
Mathis.
think
Yeah.
Dennis Hopper is a solid choice. no
But
matter what.
it wasn't Peach. She played
No, she was
Daisy.
Oh, that's right.
She
Yeah.
played Peach's like weird
Sister something.
cousin.
Yeah, and so that was another thing where it's like they already deviated because it wasn't Mario's love story, which is with Peach. It was Luigi's love story, which is with Daisy.
You're
and like
Luigi.
There's another thing where it's like they were like
Getting some love.
deviating because what did they want to make? They wanted to make a movie where like, okay, it's Mario who's this, little stumpy guy with his mustache and all that. But we also, because that's iconic, so we have to do that, right? If you don't do that, then you're not Mario. But we also want it to appeal to like the everybody, which is like they need a love story, they need to be young. It's this '90s movie. It's all this kind of all those '90s traps. They're like, let's jam that in there, right? And like again, that's where I think the whole thing just comes down to not appreciating the property for what is good in it, instead just trying to cash in on like the hype and everything that surrounds it. It was like, this is going to sell well because it's Mario.
And I have a feeling that we're going to find that repeating through these other movies that we
of
talk
them.
about.
Of course.
Throughout all
But
of
I think that I'm happy to know that animation should have done that,
them.
Yeah.
and voice acted should have kept all the same actors, right?
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
yeah,
I'm cool
I
with
think that would have been fun.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good job, Hoskins and Leguizamo. You did great.
I will say, I do think that Bob Hoskins did do a good job as Mario. As like with what he had, he was doing a pretty damn good job.
I think I
He's
recall
he's a
Hoskins
great
saying that
actor.
this was the one movie that he regretted for his entire life.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah,
But
poor guy.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Okay, so let's continue on. What movie do we want to talk about next? Do we want to talk about? We touched on Final Fantasy. Okay,
Touch on Final Fantasy.
let's explore Final Fantasy a little bit more. We talked about the animation of Final Fantasy.
Well,
Fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, at the time, and I think this is a lot of where people diverge. You guys mentioned previously that you didn't really dig it because it wasn't a Final Fantasy.
Yeah,
It didn't have a full Final Fantasy story to it. But for me, what hyped it up is the 3D animation.
Yeah.
of
Sure.
It was
Sure.
just so gorgeous at the time. Obviously, they spent a crazy amount of money on it.
how much did they spend?
Let's find out. But I remember it took freaking years. They had some huge warehouse in Hawaii for some reason. I remember.
And a big part of the problem was overheating.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because you're in Hawaii, one of the hottest points in America, and that's where you decide to keep all these servers that are running all the time. $137 million budget.
Yeah.
And it made 85, so it was not a success.
No.
At all.
No surprises there.
No. That's a lot of money, though.
And this was released in 2001, July
Yeah.
2001.
It was
Okay?
a huge amount
I
of money
think
to
that's-
spend on a 3D animated video game.
So this movie is only 13 years old. It's not even that old.
But
really.
at the time, this CG was
Insane.
the best looking
I think
CG
Final Fantasy
ever.
X came out around that time, so I think they were trying to
Yeah, Final Fantasy
Yeah.
X did.
I think it did. So they were trying to I think that's where a lot of people went and saw this movie. It didn't make a lot of money,
Uh-huh.
but I think that because Final Fantasy X, the graphics were almost identical to this. I think that's why it was really ambitious.
like the cutscenes in Final Fantasy.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
And and Final Fantasy X also the first Final Fantasy that was voice acted.
I believe
Yes.
so.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you said that you were talking about how we didn't appreciate it because it wasn't what we expected from a Final Fantasy movie. So what does that mean? What did we expect? What did you expect going into
So
Final Fantasy
like my
movies?
thing, because and I'm with Ash in the boat that I actually did like this movie.
Yeah.
Like when I saw it, I thought like it was pretty cool. But I think of it just kind of as like a weird sci-fi movie. Like it's just got some cool elements, some weird stuff with souls and all this kind of stuff. It was a weird but cool. There's a lot of really cool concepts in there. I remember there's like a scene where they're like dropping out of a drop ship, and instead of having parachutes, they shoot these like gel things into the ground and they land in the gel.
Yeah.
And I've always thought like that was such a cool scene.
Yeah.
The thing that it's missing, and the stuff that's always in all the Final Fantasies, is the high design. Like, Final Fantasies, the one thing that even if you don't like, say, like Final Fantasy 13 or anything like, it's like, you can still say it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
And the design that they use for the summons and for the monsters and all that kind of stuff is gorgeous. And the thing is, like, none of that was in this. They tried to make it like about people that were being people in this kind of sci-fi area, but there weren't a lot of big monsters or anything like that.
There
And
was
so
no
it's like,
magic.
There was those really weird
Well, I mean,
Really?
there was Gaia, which was like the
Like the
Mother
life
Earth
force
type
of
that
the
was
Earth.
that was the thing that they said was like the theme. Like
Right.
that was they were saying like this is how it ties into Final Fantasy because a lot of Final Fantasies do have that
Yeah.
the Earth is being destroyed. We need to save
I can
it
see
kind
that. I
of thing.
mean, Final Fantasy VII was one of my favorite,
Yeah.
one of my introductions
Totally.
to the Final Fantasy series, and that's pretty much the entire thing.
Sure.
Like Shinra's sucking out all the Mako, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in the finale of this movie, I mean, I feel like they're in like a pit that is essentially, it looks almost identical to Final Fantasy VII
Sure.
Yeah.
when you're like in
Yeah.
the crater. And
But it was so modern, and there was so much technology, and there
Yeah,
wasn't
that was
there
one
wasn't the
thing.
magic, and there wasn't
There
kind
wasn't.
of that fantasy aspect to it.
Exactly.
It's Final
Yeah.
Fantasy.
I wanted to see Ifrit and Shiva. I wanted to see Bahamut. I wanted to see some giant ass monsters that they were fighting.
Yeah.
You know, that's
Sure.
Final Fantasy is a dude or a lady with a sword who goes up against a monster that's like 30 stories tall.
That's true.
You know, like that's what I think of when I think
Well,
Final Fantasy. It
When
just
I
wasn't
remember
there.
watching it, I remember thinking this could easily be a Final Fantasy. Like if you're playing the game, remember how all those really weird soul monsters kind of like popped out of nowhere?
Uh-huh.
That's like the random battles. The entire time I was thinking this is like a random battle. And
Sure.
it kind of reminded me of Final Fantasy VIII. It had that kind of modern element
Uh-huh.
where there was like
But even Final Fantasy VIII had like color.
Yeah.
And
It
had
did,
like
yeah.
This was very
Design.
muted. It was
It
very
was-
gray.
It was
and
gray. It was
blue.
steel. It was metal. It
And-
was very mechanical.
And I think that this
Yeah.
is something where, and I think that modern CG movies that are like primarily CG, like, you know, like Beowulf and stuff like that, where they realize, like, if you're going to make a movie like that, you have to embrace that I'm using animation. That means I have literally no limitations. The
Right.
limitations are my skill set, right?
Yeah.
Whereas I think they were like, we want to make this look like a movie, but have it be, you know, look like it's live action, but have it actually be CG.
Like I feel like they would have
Exactly.
filmed a live action if they could have done the things, you know, that they did in this live action. You know, like
they should have.
they couldn't render the monsters and everything real time, so they were just like, why don't we just make the actors CGI instead? Why don't
Sure.
we just adapt that?
it
So,
kind of makes sense.
I also wanted chocobo races,
Yeah,
Let me-
and I didn't get chocobos.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, Bryce, since you and I both kind of like the movie.
Uh-huh.
I thought the movie
I
would have
kind of like
actually been 1,000 times better if they had just done one thing different.
What?
At the very end, when the main character, the lady, discovers that she's the one that needs to touch the pool of Gaia or whatever in the Earth, it looked like she had to fall into it and die. But instead, they just, to me, kind of copped out and just, oh, she just needs to touch it, and then she's cool. If she had just fallen out, like, if it was a sacrifice thing and it was kind of a depressing ending,
I mean, it could have saved what they had, but I feel like there's a lot of other things they could have changed along the
Sure.
way to make it much better.
Yeah.
No,
It
no.
didn't test well. That's why they did that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man.
I don't like the part where the lady died.
I wanted to be happy. I wanted to be safe.
Okay, so there's the Final Fantasy. Okay,
So yeah,
that's
just to put a little bow on it, it's just like I feel like there are so many things you can do well with Final Fantasy. Every one of those games has so much beauty and fantasy in it, and they took all the fantasy out.
So
And it's like,
final
that's what we
verdict. Decent movie, but not what you would expect from a Final Fantasy movie.
Yes.
exactly.
I
Like,
mean, if I'm going to
on
watch a
its-
Final Fantasy movie, I might as well just watch the new ones.
And I feel like
'Cause,
they.
I mean, it's just you're pressing one button.
Well,
and
or just go watch Advent Children. I mean, Advent Children's one of those movies where it's
Oh,
like
man.
it was.
perfect nostalgia.
It's a nostalgia trip. It's kind of silly.
It's
It's like an
beautiful.
episode of an anime, essentially, where
Yeah.
it's like you're coming in, you're expected to know everything about Final Fantasy VII,
Yeah.
and then it's just like, boom, bam, 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 oh, fighting guys, meow, meow. You know, like here's a motorcycle. Oh my God, there's 3 Sephiroth.
Sunglasses!
And then there's the real Sephiroth, and it's just like all kinds of crazy stuff. And they summon Ifrit, and he punches the thing, and then like it's so much stuff. And I was like, that is what I wanted to see in
just
Final
give
Fantasy.
me bonkers
To me-
Final Fantasy
yeah.
movies.
To me, that's still not Final Fantasy in what I want. I want Final Fantasy to be something like Final Fantasy IX, where it's like
Oh,
cutesy,
absolutely,
and
absolutely.
there's like
No,
the
totally.
old school flying ships. Instead, that was like, hey, we look like Japanese pop stars driving around in a car with
Sure.
like gun swords,
Sure.
and that's
And,
the
you
only
know,
thing.
I side with you, Ash, as well. What I think that's what turned me off from Advent Children, and being a huge Final Fantasy VII fan. Same thing with like what was that movie that they made of Vincent? The Cerberus,
Oh,
the
yeah.
Dirge of Cerberus.
Yes.
Sure.
That game.
Yeah.
Exactly. But still, that game, it was too polished.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I liked the deformed, pixelated characters from Final Fantasy VII, and I think it kind of kept with that cutesy aesthetic that we'd kind of been used to, either pixelated or like from Final Fantasy IX, where they were just like ultra cute,
Yeah.
you know. And then making it hyper realistic, it just took me out of that because I had built up this image in my head of what the universe, the Final Fantasy VII universe looked like. And then I kind of had it shattered. So, like, even though I think the movie was pretty good and it stood on its own, that movie being The Advent Children, it just, I couldn't get over that, like, highly polished.
And just complete tangent on this. I feel like Dragon Quest does a great job at keeping its nostalgia look in the newer games, whereas if you look at the newest trailer for the Final Fantasy that's going to come out next year or something, it looks like Advent Children.
It does.
Really?
I'm really sad because, so here's the thing.
They've always used the artwork of, what's his name, from Dragon Ball, right?
That's Dragon Quest.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we're talking about Final Fantasy 15.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Dragon Quest.
Because Dragon Quest, it does a great job at keeping that nostalgia. The new Final Fantasy 15, they're driving around in a car. They've got the pop star look to them.
It's entirely designed by Tetsuya Nomura, who he did do the designs for Final Fantasy 7. And that's what's gotten him his job from here on throughout. And the thing is he is going full on for like this dark kind of look for all the characters are wearing black in the trailer. First off, which to me it's Final Fantasy. Like one should be wearing red, one should be wearing white, one should be wearing blue. Like they all need to be like their own kind of
Who
designs.
did the design for Final Fantasy Tactics? Because that design was phenomenal, and that's the design they should have gone with from here on out.
Evil East. I'm trying to think who did those.
Because good God,
and they did that in.
I reread the manual to Final Fantasy Tactics over and over again just so I could see the artwork.
Yeah, no, and they did that in Final Fantasy 11. Yeah, it was 11.
Yeah, I think
used
it was
the
11.
same. Oh, 12. I don't know. The one after the online
No,
one, 12.
it's 12. It's 12. They actually
went to that
had the
art style.
job
It was really
system.
great.
I really like 12.
Anyway, we need to get off this tangent of Final Fantasy.
That's the tangent.
But as you can tell, we love Final Fantasy, and we think that they missed the mark because there's so many things they could pull from, and they decided to pull from the wrong thing.
We solved it.
Solved.
We solved that
Done.
crisis.
All
right. So we've touched on some movies that some of us appreciate. Jasmine likes Super Mario. Price and I like Final Fantasy.
I kind of liked it too. Let me join the club.
Let's talk about something that everyone universally hates. Let's talk about I'm sorry, how do you pronounce his name?
Uwe Boll.
Uwe Boll movies. He's done freaking Alone in the Dark, freaking Postal,
In
Far
the Name
Cry,
of the King,
Blood
Dungeon
Rain.
Siege Story, or whatever.
All the big hits.
So many of them.
Uwe is the perfect example of someone who doesn't give a shit, I think, about anything.
Yeah. I was just reading yesterday about he wanted to get the rights to the Warcraft movie. And when Blizzard found out, they were like, we weren't planning on giving you the rights anyway, but when we found out who you were, we were sure as hell not giving you the rights to our movie. Fuck you, go away.
And I think that what it does, though, is it does exemplify that part of the problem is when these game companies don't respect their IP enough or care enough about like actually taking the time to protect it and just say like, oh no, if someone wants to buy the rights to this for a movie, then fucking have it.
More money.
Because all you need to do to know you should not give your rights to Uwe Boll is watch any movie he has made. They are all the worst films I've ever seen.
He's incapable of making a good movie.
Oh, yeah.
Incapable. Like, this guy, I don't know how he stumbled into directing literally. Yeah. Like, he was on set, he was probably a caterer, all right? And, like, he accidentally got, like, the director sick with, like, his shitty food. And he was like, what am I going to do? And he put on the director hat and he was like, everything's under control, and he's been directing ever since. He stumbled into it.
What I like even better is something like him being like the caterer guy or whatever like that, and the director's doing something, and then Uwe like chimes in. He's all like, "No, you should do this instead."
I played this video.
And then the guy's like, "Oh, you think you could do this better than me? No, here, you be the director for 5 minutes." And so like Uwe did it.
I'm director for 5 years.
No, and he did it just like horribly. He just did like a terrible job. And then the director comes back and like sarcastically goes like, "Great job, really? You should go into directing." And then he did.
Oh, yeah. So he's just incapable of sarcasm.
Yeah. He just doesn't.
That's why he does so well with the criticism. Really good movie. Another one. Fantastic job. Look at my movies.
Look at all the great reviews.
What's
Rotten Tomatoes is a reverse scale.
Okay, so he makes terrible movies.
Yeah. He makes terrible movies. And let's just take a look at some of the list of what he's done.
Mm-hmm. I think that like In the Name of the King is such a good example of like how off the mark.
That's Jason Statham playing Farmer.
Mm-hmm. And it's just like, it's a movie that just kind of like rolls.
Farmer is not his name. It's not like a clever name that his parents gave him.
No.
He's called Farmer because he's
literally
a farmer.
Yeah.
Literally a farmer.
He did Far Cry, which oddly enough has Anthony Bourdain in it playing a scientist, which was, I never saw the movie itself. I saw it when on one of Anthony Bourdain's like No Reservations or something.
Yeah, he had a clip of it.
Yeah.
And it was perfect. He's just...
Yeah.
It's Anthony Bourdain in like a white lab coat getting shot.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I have seen In the Name of the King, and I have seen, yeah, it's terrible. And I have seen Alone in the Dark. And both of them, they're just such good examples of not knowing anything about the source material. It's like you looked at pictures of the game and said, I'm going to make that.
And reading about Alone in the Dark before we started here today, I really have to watch this. And I encourage all of you guys to watch it because how bad could it be, right? Okay, it has Christian Slater, Tara Reid, and Stephen Dorff as the top billed actors, okay?
So good.
This movie sounds terrifically bad. When we're done here today, it's the first thing I'm going to do. I'm going to download and watch this movie.
Is Alone in the Dark the one where you can combine items?
I don't know. It was
like
I think that's survival horror kind of trope is combining. I mean, Resident Evil.
No, it was like one of the first ones I remember.
Alone in the Dark. Somehow, Uwe Boll got $20 million to make it. It only made 10.
He wasn't even successful at making his shitty movies. I mean, studios like Asylum purposely make shitty movies just so they can make money back.
Sure.
He can't even do that right.
Yeah.
Some of his other movies, let's see, Postal. He got $15 million.
So he actually made money on that one.
He got $18 million back on it.
How did he make money on Postal?
I think that was like one of the first ones.
But what's crazy is that some sort of tax loop in Germany allows him to make crazy amounts of money on this, even if the movie makes nothing. Mm-hmm. He got $60 million.
Did he make Doom?
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, he didn't.
No,
he didn't.
No, directed by Andrzej Bartko.
I was going to say.
Doom wasn't I saw Doom.
That terrible.
Yeah, I saw Doom. But again, it's another good example of something where it's like, again, you just missed the mark on knowing what your source material
Well, I'm glad that we...
I'm
glad that we talked about Uwe Boll, though, because Price, you hit the nail on the head when you were like, these studios, these publishers, they don't care about their IP enough to like sell it to people who are genuinely
competent.
People who can actually expand the franchise or do the fans right. You know?
Sure. Yeah.
I don't think a lot of these games had like a huge cult following, but games like Max Payne. Did he do Max Payne?
No, he didn't do Max Payne.
He did Hitman?
No.
Okay.
No,
did he do any? Well, he did Far Cry.
He did Far Cry.
Yeah.
Far Cry is pretty huge, and the fact that they sold their IP to Uwe Boll. I mean, that's a mark on them.
Well, and I think that they didn't realize the value that they had there, and this is something that could change in the coming years with a lot of the movies that are around the corner. And we'll talk about that in a little bit, I think. But I do want to actually talk about the Hitman movie because Hitman is a franchise that I love. I absolutely love the Hitman franchise. Those games are amazing, and this movie, they got so weird with it. Like, they didn't understand what they were doing because it was like, so they focused a lot on Agent 47's background, which is sort of like a running theme throughout all the games. You learn little pieces about it. You grew up in this kind of like weird convent kind of thing where they kind of like breed them in a way. And it's like this whole, it's this odd thing. He's like a clone or something. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, like, that's not really what those movies or what those games are about. All right. The games are about like he's getting all these contracts to go and assassinate these people. And through these assassinations, there is some larger organization that you're taking down or some larger group of criminals or whatever it is. There is a narrative that ties each of those games together. And the main thing about it is he is efficient and clean and clear and gets away and does the right thing. In this movie, he full on has a katana fight with a huge gang of other dudes who surround him, where he's like, they come out and they've each got katanas, and then he pulls out 2 katanas, and then they're having a crazy ass sword fight, and then in the ending, it's like he's mowing down like a hotel room, like a fucking minigun, and he's wearing like floor to ceiling like body armor because he knows he's gonna get shot a bunch of times, and it's just like all this stuff, and it's like, that would never happen in the game.
No, yeah.
In the game, what you do is you execute everything so perfectly that if you were to play it back, no one knew you were there. Everyone was knocked out if they were anywhere near you.
Price, that's
the target
boring.
Gets taken out.
What the audience wants, they want katana fights. They want machine gun
Here's
fights.
the producer.
Okay, they want Uzis.
They want a convoluted story that involves saving some woman who is unrelated and ancillary to everything that has to do with Hitman, but for some reason he falls in love with her when he was supposed to go and kill this other guy.
Put a gold-plated AK-47 in there somewhere, some cocaine, and we got a movie. And that's,
The Hitman movie needed to have like a box of flowers that had a shotgun inside of it or something.
It's the kind of thing, like he needs to poison people. He needs to do all kinds of really, Terminator.
Terminator.
But like, there are examples of things where you can say like, no, like carry it out. Like he has like these missions that he accomplishes. He does them fucking well. And it's just about him like figuring out how to do it. And maybe the suspense comes in with like, you don't know if he's going to be able to do this. Oh my gosh. But even in his reflexive reaction to this stuff, he's still so damn good.
Yeah.
But the katana fights and all that other stuff, it was so ridiculous and over the top that it was obvious that someone said, it's a video game movie.
You know what they
let's
should have
do a
done?
video game thing.
They should have gotten Jim Jarmusch to just do a sequel to Ghost Dog.
You know what
they should have.
That,
Ghost Dog
or
is
I
the
was
best
thinking
Hitman movie there is.
Ghost Dog, or like some combination of The Professional as well,
Yeah.
where like, they take it silently throughout most of the movie, and then at the end there can be
Sure.
just like one giant fight.
Yeah, like so the end of Blood Money, I think,
Yeah, that
is a
was
great
perfect.
example of how you do it. It's like, yeah, he got taken out, or so they think.
And then-
Actually, his heartbeat is like below whatever, and then he brings himself back with this injection, pops out of a fucking coffin, and kills everyone.
He kills the
and
whole
they're all
funeral
running
parlor.
for the hills, and like half of the other ones like pull out guns, and it's all about like you grab this guy and you shoot that guy and you shoot that guy, and it's just this huge set piece, and it's like
And
that
Ave
is how
Maria
you
is
end.
playing throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, that's how you end a Hitman movie. It's like, no, it was his plan all along. They got us, but it was so cool, you know? You don't need to do some ridiculous whatever. It bothers me because it's like, you literally could have just gone to somebody and said, look, I'm going to show you these 5 levels from Blood Money that are most important. These are the scenes that you need to put into your movie, and just write this in with some connective tissue, and look what you've got. You've got yourself an awesome movie that's Hitman. Instead, they add in all this junk, take out all the good stuff, and we end up with this piece of garbage. I was so disappointed with that film.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Can we talk about a movie that kind of hits the mark?
Which
Okay.
one is
Mortal
that?
Kombat.
Okay.
That one actually sort
There's-
of.
I agree.
That one is sort of, they do.
They were
They
true
do have a
to
tournament.
Pull
the
open
source
the-
material.
Pull open the information for Mortal Kombat because I have a hint, or I think I have a hint of why that movie was as bad as it was. Because I think
Look at that. Look at the
there we go.
numbers.
Okay,
Yeah.
and that's exactly what I was expecting to see. Okay, this movie, it had all the right bits. It was true to the source. I thought for the most part, it had a budget of $18 million, and it made in the box office $122 million. This has to be one of the most successful, by just ratio,
yeah.
movies
Yeah.
out there. Okay, and that's why I think it was so poorly done. The casting was
Yeah.
pretty shitty. Okay,
It was
it was
B-list
pretty low
actors.
budget.
Yeah.
Even for the time, the
Yeah.
special effects were pretty cheesy.
Yeah.
But it did have that awesome Mortal Kombat
Yeah, that
song.
theme song was so good.
Where that soundtrack was like bestseller for like a
Yeah.
long
Yeah,
time.
I
But
mean,
they-
even today, people sing that song.
But
Every
they
day I
kind
sing
of
that
kept
song.
to the source material
They
because
did.
they
They
had
did.
Scorpion, they had Sub-Zero,
And it was a
had
tournament.
their moves, they had everything.
It
But
was the story from the game.
I think
Yeah.
this is a good way to cap off talking about what video game movies are doing wrong, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Because we talked about, we had a lot of examples about video game movies that don't stay true to the source material
Mm-hmm.
and then have this extravagant budget and they have a lot of studio interference and then they fuck up the entire thing.
Yep.
I mean, even with big names like Anthony Hopkins and Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo, bless his heart, they can't save a movie that is just executed poorly.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that Mortal Kombat, I think they did the best that they did, they could with the money that they had.
Yeah.
Obviously, it was
Yeah.
phenomenally successful,
Totally.
but it wasn't fun to watch. The acting was bad. It was
was so
rigid.
bad.
The special effects were pretty terrible. It was black the entire time.
Yeah.
So
I mean, they really casted really poorly. I mean, Christopher Lambert as
Yeah.
Raiden.
Yeah.
Seriously,
No,
they chose the whitest dude to play like an Asian,
yeah,
like
demigod.
demigod.
yeah.
I think the one thing though is like, yeah, the pieces were there though, and
Yeah.
if they had had more money, if they could have hired top tier actors, whatever, it probably would have been amazing. Because
So if
it was
this-
about the NetherRealm tournament.
Yeah.
It was about
Yeah.
exactly what the story was, and it carried out like the game, but in a way that made sense. It was like, oh yeah, they pair off to fight each other because it's a tournament.
And Mortal
It makes
Kombat,
sense.
Mortal Kombat came out in August of '95. That was only 2 years after Super Mario Brothers. That got the entire genre started. Okay, so if they could have had the funding that the studio that produced Mario Brothers had, I think that we could have had a huge. I mean, it was
Sure,
already a
sure.
successful movie, but I think that it could have like withstood the test of time. So. I think those are good examples.
Yeah.
We've got both ends of the spectrum there. They say true to the source material, it was terrible. They
Yeah.
strayed to the source material, it was terrible.
Yeah.
Okay, let's wrap up this segment, okay? Looking at the video game movie wiki, okay, we've got a list of movies that are coming up. I'm just going to start naming them.
Oh, dear
Once you
God.
hear something that sounds awesome, just chime in with something
I
quick.
can already see several.
Okay.
honestly.
Yeah.
September 2nd, 2014, Heavenly Sword. I don't think that's. I haven't heard anything.
I think it's
about
a
that
CG movie.
Okay, CG movie. Maybe that's straight to DVD. February 2015. Hitman, Agent 47. You think that they're going to do it right this time?
I think it'll be better. I think it has a smaller budget, and I think it has a lot less going on with it. So I do think it could be better. It could also just be god-awful.
Fingers crossed that they do it right this time.
Yeah.
Ratchet and Clank coming out March 2016. That's 2015.
This, in my opinion, could be the greatest video game movie of all time.
I think it is.
Because Insomniac is making it, right? The people who make this game, which is already very cinematic in nature, are making this film. They are getting the same voice actors, same writing talent, same design team. Everything that makes the games is going into this movie. It's just a movie instead of a game.
This should be good. Mark it on your calendars.
Amazing.
Yeah. And also
2015, the entire year. Just keep your eyes peeled for Ratchet and Clank.
Insomniac's one of my favorite devs anyway. They made Twisted Metal Black. They made War of the Monsters.
Yeah.
So, they're amazing.
They're amazing. And
War of the Monsters, go check it out.
Ratchet and
YouTube
Clank,
right now.
those games are some of my favorite games of all time. And part of it has always been,
like
and I've said this in the past, I always felt like I was playing a Pixar movie.
Yeah, the characters are great. The humor was terrific.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got Warcraft slated for March 11th, 2016.
That's been in sort of like in a pre-production forever.
Yeah. I doubt. I mean, that's not a hard date by any means. Uncharted, we've got June 10th, 2016. I'd be curious to see who gets that lead role.
I'm worried about that one. It's been tied off and on to people like Mark Wahlberg and
Mark Wahlberg would make a terrible.
Apparently, the story that they're going for is something along the lines of it's like a family business of
Oh God! Can you imagine Mark Wahlberg as Nathan Drake? That would be terrible. He doesn't fit the bill at all.
Obviously, it needs to be Nathan Fillion.
Obviously,
yeah. If there's going to be a
Nathan Fillion.
Okay, Pikmin, huh? To be announced. There's no date yet, but man, I would totally watch Pikmin movie. I loved Pikmin.
That's got to be animated, right? It can't be live action.
Oh my god! Oh my god! I hope it's live action.
Wait, imagine like Teletubby suits, right?
Oh my god!
There we go. It's going to be live action. They're going to wear Teletubby suits.
Angry Birds apparently is going to be
Angry Birds. Fuck it. That's. I'm surprised that July 1st, 2016 is the date that they have for Angry Birds. How are they pushing? They should just haven't they already made a movie?
No. They've been working on this movie for a while.
How have they not just like fast tracked this thing? It seems like those are pretty time sensitive.
It's interesting to me. Assassin's Creed, I actually have very low expectations for because Ubisoft just has a horrible track record with their IPs.
Yeah.
So the thing about Assassin's Creed is that it's kind of the little baby of Michael Fassbender. Mm-hmm. He bought up the right, or not? He didn't buy up the rights, but his studio got the rights, and they've been really working on it for a while. And it sounds like he really wants to make this a big thing. And
I feel like there's so much mythology and so much depth to the story involved with Assassin's Creed that either they could do it really well, or it's so diverse that they could really fuck it up.
I think the thing that what I'm worried about is, part of the Assassin's Creed thing has always been the connection between the two worlds, right? It's like, here's the history, and then here is the modern world. And you have this, like, going back in time element almost. Mm-hmm. And so what I'm worried about is, like, that they will screw up that bit, the connective tissue between the person going into the Animus and then the characters in the past times, and like how do you connect those two together?
Well, we've got a couple years to find out.
Yeah, we'll see.
There's some more games on that wiki that are coming up. Those are years in advance. If you're curious, go check it out. There's a whole list of them on Wikipedia. But we've got to wrap up that segment right now. Mm-hmm. And let's go ahead and get started on our last reoccurring segment here. This is Stumpt's Adventure Corner. Take it away, Ash.
Stumpt's Adventure Corner, the inaugural.
Okay.
Oh, man.
So do you want
to introduce what this is?
No, yeah. So this is going to be a weekly sort of D&D type thing where I walk everyone through adventures that that
we find ourselves on.
That you find yourselves on. And different adventures that your little characters get into.
So what do we got this week?
So this week, let me introduce everyone here.
Okay.
Jasmine, a gnome witch cursed with terrible eyesight, purple hair, and a cat familiar named Blue.
Okay.
It's real life! It's real life!
I do have bad eyesight.
You got purple hair too. Look at all that purple hair.
Price,
Beautiful.
a dwarf alchemist.
How dare you?
With a fondness for experimenting with explosive potions. Because of this, he usually doesn't have any eyebrows.
Accurate.
Rick, a half-elf gunslinger.
Yeah.
He's a fall-down drunk. Whose aim with a 6-shooter seems to get better as he is more inebriated.
Nice.
All right.
Oh, so you're like a
I like
drunken
that.
master. Okay.
Finish the rest of that 20, my friend.
He's drinking right now. And then myself, a half-giant paladin, 9 feet tall, constant back problems due to being hunched over from talking for the rest of these nerds. All right.
That's
Oh,
perfect.
man, that is accurate.
Let's get into this. These 4 adventurers sit around a table at a local pub having drinks. What brought these 4 adventurers together in the first place isn't necessary to get into, not because it's unimportant, but because the storyteller had no time for a backstory. Now then, these 4 were slamming down drinks, laughing, singing Duran Duran.
It's true.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, other patrons in the pub, dressed in official-looking captains and officers' outfits, were, they had buttons and chevrons and whatnot on them, seemed to be giving all of these adventurers a cold stare.
I can't see them, so I don't know what they're saying.
Is it
Jasmine,
because we're
they're
singing
looking
too
at us.
loudly, or are they jerks?
They're just sort of staring at
They're
you
jerks.
from their corner of the
Look at
bar.
these jerks.
I'm obviously oblivious. You guys could just keep talking about it. I'm just like
She can't see shit.
She's completely
stroking blue.
oblivious. Yeah.
Stroking blue.
Price seemed to notice that they were getting odd looks from the group, but before he could mention it to the rest of us, slam. A small goblin drops a big, heavy book onto the table and looks at us. Before he starts talking, we notice that it's not really a heavy book. It's instead a big pamphlet or a big stack of pamphlets. All right. So the goblin comes up and says, "I need a favor." That's the best goblin outfit.
It's pretty good.
accent. Yeah,
Do you want me
Pretty
to,
good.
you want me to do it?
yeah, it's fine. "I need a favor, and I don't know who to trust. You look like the honest folk. My problem involves a sword of great importance. A sword that can change the course of history. It is sharp beyond imagining and priceless to my people. Please help me. If you're interested, I'll be waiting outside the pub." That's how goblins sound like, by the way.
That's a good call.
Yeah, I know, thank
By
you.
the end, you nailed it.
The goblin grabs his big pile of pamphlets and he walks past the waitress and the other patrons into out the front door. Anyway, what do you guys think? Would you like to follow this goblin? And find out?
I
Yeah.
want to know
course.
what's in that pamphlet.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Wait, but what's with these guys? I'm curious about these jerks who've been staring us down.
Screw those jerks. I'll blow them up later.
Okay.
Yeah.
What?
Goblin!
All right, off to the goblin then.
Oh, okay.
All right, so you all stand up and you start gathering your things, and then as you're about to walk out the front door, a waitress comes up to you and says, "Listen, I like you guys. Especially Rick. He's been giving me like half my business lately. But you don't want to follow that goblin out there. He's just going to talk to you outside and try to tell you why your life will be better with a goblin Cutco sword." "Oh my gosh, they can cut through anything. Look how easily it cuts through this orc." And then he'll try to take out something that looks like an orc, but it's really a half orc, and so it doesn't really cut through it as well as you think it would. So the sword's just garbage, and it's crazy overpriced. Just don't bother. Here's your next round for free. Anyway,
Sweet.
Okay.
Wow, is she really... Or is she trying to stop us?
Maybe.
anyway, you all sit back down. Rick's super excited about the new drinks.
Woo! Free drink. Free drinks.
They settle back down, and Price notices and recalls that they were getting cool looks from the captain and the officers from across the bar.
Wait, is it cool looks or like
Cold looks.
Cold looks.
Cold
Okay.
looks.
They're
Sorry.
cool.
Because you said cool afterwards. I was like,
cold.
Sorry.
cool.
Cool,
Yeah.
yeah.
Look at these adventures.
Anyway, you guys are all sort of like getting back together, having drinks, and you start singing again, and you're still getting cold looks from the other people. And Price remembers the cold looks, and just as he remembers this, he looks and sees if they're still looking at him. And sure enough, not only they're looking at him, they're approaching us now.
Oh, no.
Oh, great.
So
I
Wait,
could
what's
really go
happening?
for one of those Cutco swords.
Price alerts the rest of us. We all stand up and sort of get ready to have a big confrontation.
Jasmine.
Yo,
Jasmine.
what?
You need to pay attention. They're coming our way.
Look over here.
Look over
No,
there.
over there.
Over there.
Oh,
Where am I
God.
looking at? Where am I looking at?
Over there.
I gotta put on my glasses, guys.
Put on your robe and wizard's hat.
So the captain and the officers walk straight up to the adventurers. They have wild hair and a huge amount of eye makeup on.
Oh, they're glamorous.
As it
David
turns
Bowie?
out, they're not captains and officers at all.
They're Duran Duran.
They're a Duran Duran cover band.
Oh my god! Yes! Yes!
and they have taken huge offense to the singing that we have done thus far.
Her name is Rio, and she dances on the sand.
They want to challenge one of us to a Duran Duran sing-off. So, which one of us is ready to take up the challenge?
Blue.
All right, I have to think. I have to remember these songs. Remember the songs.
Rick, does your singing get better with your drinking?
Everything gets better than my drinking.
All right, I think I give Rick my beer that was free so that Rick can have another beer.
And I immediately down it. One large gulp. Down.
Okay. All right, so Rick is going to be the one?
Okay.
Okay. Rick, I need you to take the D6 here.
D6. Okay.
This is for how many drinks you've had.
Okay. Come on, 6. 1!
Oh, bullshit.
Oh, you had one beer.
Okay. I'm going to give you a +1 anyway since you just downed prices.
Yes. Thanks, Bryce.
I need you to roll the D20 to remember, to try to remember how well you remember Hungry Like the Wolf.
3! I'm rolling for shit.
So,
You just know the chorus.
Yeah,
I'm hungry like a wolf.
It's going to be 3 minus however many drinks you had. So you got a solid 1.
Okay.
Nice.
So,
Because I'm hungry like a cat.
The only words that you can remember are, and I'm hungry like the wolf, and then you repeat over and over, do 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 do
Do do do do do do do. Hungry like a wolf.
After the at first the audience seems to cringe at just how awful this is, and the other cover band just seem super ecstatic at their assured win. But after you do this a few times, the rest of the audience actually starts laughing. And they're having.
I'd like to interject. I'm going to start doing some pyrotechnics with all my explosive skills.
I think you need to roll for that.
All right, I'll roll for pyrotechnics.
Go ahead,
roll for pyrotechnics.
Roll for pyrotechnics.
Rolling
Go
for
D20.
pyrotechnics.
Get a 20.
I rolled a
9.
9. You know, you can give some sparks.
Nice. Put on an okay pyrotechnic.
Yeah, a little bit. You know,
Yeah.
it was on the you know.
You cinch what was left of your eyebrows.
Yeah, you do.
Since I'm which, can I do any potions? Any brews?
No, you're looking in the wrong direction. You're looking away from the audience.
Hold on. Roll to see if you're looking in the right direction. 5. You are looking in the wrong direction. You have no idea what's going on.
Anyway, everyone is actually now laughing hysterically at your rendition of Hungry Like the Wolf.
Success.
They start applauding wildly as you come to the end of the song, and
Awesome.
it is obvious that you are the clear winner. The other cover band tries to protest this, but eventually has to concede defeat. That cover band later breaks up and ends up having to sell Goblin Cutco swords.
Yeah! Success, you guys.
We did it. We did
And
it.
so concludes this week's Stumpt Adventures.
Fantastic.
All
I think
right.
that was a fucking success.
Another
Yeah.
successful adventure.
Good job,
guys.
everybody. I can't wait to find out what happens to us next week.
No, Jasmine, look this
Can
way.
I roll?
Look this way.
Can I roll every week to see if my vision gets slightly better?
Yes. If you roll a natural 20,
yeah.
you get LASIK.
LASIK.
Someone give me those dice.
Okay,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
guys.
I'm doing it.
Okay, this will be your 1 for the week.
Oh, man.
10.
You stay the same.
You can
Vision
see
stays
normally.
the same. Yes.
Okay,
All
you
right.
guys, I think that's where we're going to wrap it up. This has been our very first ever, we've never done this before, podcast. Woo! You guys have been listening to Stumptcast. If you like what you've heard, then go to our YouTube and like what you've seen. Go ahead and subscribe to us. Find us on Facebook, find us on Twitter, and come back in 2 weeks when we'll have a brand new episode of Stumptcast. See y'all later.
Bye.